2024, and I'm calling to order the meeting of the Los Angeles County Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission. My name is Luis Garcia, and I am the co-vice chair of the commission. Today, I'm chairing the meeting in the absence of Commissioner Chair Robert Bonner. We have a full agenda before us, which includes the following: selection of 2025 meeting location and time, report on Article 29 of the county's collective bargaining agreement, and regular reports from various representatives. We also have educational presentations from the LASD on the two-captain model and the LASD custody inmate grievance form and the LASD conditions of confinement 2024 quarter 2 report. The purpose of the commission: the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors voted to implement a Sheriff Civilian Oversight Commission with a mission to improve public transparency and accountability with respect to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. The commission consists of 9 volunteer commissioners. The cornerstone of the commission's work is community engagement, and such engagement is encouraged and valued. The commission is not charged with preventing community members from sharing what they believe to be deputy misconduct. However, at this time, the commission is unable to conduct investigations or review LASD's investigative files. The commission also does not have access to LASD's confidential information. I will now turn it over to Tracy Jordan to explain how members of the public can participate during this meeting. Then Robert Flores will translate public comment rules in Spanish, and then Ms. Jordan will conduct the roll call.
Good morning and welcome. If you wish to speak in person at today's meeting, please turn in your public comment card at the table with a public comment sign. If you are remote, raise your hand in WebEx or press *3 on the phone. Each person who signs up for public comment will have 3 minutes to speak. Is that correct, Chair, Co-Vice Chair?
Yes.
3 minutes to speak. Please note that the chair may adjust the time allotted to less than 3 minutes for each public comment, depending on the number of individuals who have public comment. For each item on the agenda, I will call the public comment after our commission discussion. General public comment will be heard near the ending of the meeting agenda under non-agenda public comment, item 12. Now I will turn it over to the commission's Community Services Coordinator, Robert Flores, who will announce the public comment rules in Spanish.
Buenos días. Le damos la bienvenida a esta reunión a miembros de la comunidad quienes quieren hacer comentarios en español. Le daremos 3 minutos y podemos proveer traducción en el inglés. Simplemente diga la palabra español antes de comenzar sus comentarios y le diremos cómo proceder. Gracias.
To ensure a productive meeting for all, follow the Code of Conduct guidelines. As a reminder, we ask that speakers cease speaking when their time has ended. Public comment must relate to the agenda's items subject being discussed, and non-agenda general public comment is limited to topics within the commission's jurisdiction and can be offered towards the end of the meeting. Public comments does not include the right to engage in dialogue or debate with the commission. Everyone remains respectful and refrain from profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or abusive statements. Be respectful of the views expressed by others, speakers, staff, and commission members and panelists. Do not disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting, and any person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being muted or removed from the meeting. We will now move on to conduct the roll call. Ms. Jordan, please take the roll call.
I will now conduct the roll call. Chair Robert C. Bonner, excused. Co-Vice Chair Luis S. Garcia.
Present.
Co-Vice Chair Hans Johnson. Commissioner Arthur Callaway. Commissioner Irma Cooper.
Present.
Commissioner Patricia Giggins, excused. Commissioner James P. Harris. Commissioner Jamon R. Hicks.
Present.
Commissioner Sean Kennedy, excused. Co-Vice Chair Garcia, we have a quorum. I turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I move to the consent calendar. Did everyone have a chance to review the September 19th COC meeting minutes? On the consent calendar, we also have the approval of the new commissioner training program. Do we have any corrections to the meeting minutes? And before we move forward with the motion for approval of the consent calendar, I wanted to briefly go over the new commissioner training program. It outlines the purpose, training requirements, and training program that we will use for new commissioners. The training program is placed in your folders. Now we're moving to the motion. Can I get a motion from commission members to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Second. Thank you. JP.
The motion.
Motion passes. Oh. Thank you. Now we're moving on to family impact remarks. I would like to briefly go over the family impact remarks purpose, time limit, and process to request an FIR. The purpose of family impact remark statements is to allot time to the families who have lost loved ones due to a fatal use of force by the LASD. The chair or their designee will evaluate FIR requests on a case-by-case basis and retains discretion to determine who will be invited to provide an FIR at each meeting. Each family who is invited to speak at the COC meeting will have a maximum of 10 minutes for its family impact remark. Individuals who want to make an FIR should email cocnotify@coc.lacounty.gov or call 213-253-5678 at least 72 hours before the COC meeting to make the request. They should include email subject line, family impact remarks request for date COC meeting. Individuals' names who died decedent as a result of LASD's use of force, date the use of force occurred, speakers' names from family, relationships to decedent, and contact information, email address, and phone number for meeting coordination. Tracy, do we have any submissions for family impact remarks?
Yes, Co-Vice Chair, we have 2 submissions today for family impact remarks. We have the family of Francisco Nunez. Do we have the family member for Francisco Nunez? Okay, that family has not arrived yet. We have the family for Eugene Wesley Youngblood.
Hello, my name is Johnson. Hello, my name is Coriana Johnson. I am the niece of Eugene Youngblood. On June 4th, 2024, my uncle had a minor argument with LASD in regards to being harassed. On June 5th, 2024, my uncle was picked up by Lancaster deputies and was found dead in his jail cell hours later. During that time, we were told by deputies that he would be released and cited out on a misdemeanor charge, only to be found dead in his cell hours later. The family, during that time, the family was told 3 different times of his death. The first time was given to us at 9:00 p.m. The second time was 9:30 p.m. And the last time was 10:01 p.m. They did not allow the family to identify the body. My family, which is my mom and her sister, had to meet someone from the coroner's office inside of the prison's parking lot to identify his body with a picture on his cell phone, which is this picture right here. And within this picture right here, he has a black eye and his nose is slightly slanted to the left. We were told from several people that we wouldn't want to see him like this, which is the picture that I have here on my shirt. We were informed of his death by a deputy homicide detective named Bell through a voicemail. And when we asked to see video footage, the footage from the police station, we were not given that, although it's public information. The family just wants answers. We would like to see the footage of what happened, if anything happened, if there was no type of foul play or neglect on LASD part, why isn't that information given to the family? The family still has yet not to even have a full autopsy of Eugene Youngblood. What's most important to us is getting justice for my uncle. He was a loving person, very mild-tempered, pillar of the community, was very helpful, loving, a brother, a friend, an uncle, and he lived every day like it was his last bite, enjoying his life. He loved to go to karaoke, and he loved to be surrounded by his family. Eugene did not deserve this, and that is what's making it so hard for the family to understand why this happened, how did it happen, what caused it to happen, and we have no type of answers. We have timeline and questions about throughout that whole day. If he was picked up around 3 p.m., why wasn't he given a phone call? The paper that they gave us in regards to him, his booking documents, it was not his signature. It didn't match none of his signatures on the papers that we have, on his ID, none of that. You can actually see white out on the paper. We were told from LASD that he didn't want to contact any family, which is a lie because he is very close to this family. He is the baby of the family. So with that being said, we're here today to just ask for help in investigating his death into what happened. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have representatives for the Francisco Nunez family? Francisco Nunez? Okay, at this time, Co-Chair, Co-Vice Chair Garcia, we have no further family impact remarks.
Thank you. We'll now move to our next item, which is we're going to be going out of order on our agenda. We're going to move to item number 3, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department update. Sheriff Luna was not available to attend today's meeting. However, we have a representative from LASD who will provide an update on the status of each recommendation of the Special Counsel's report on deputy gangs and deputy cliques in LASD and on other important items. Mission or Sheriff?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Paula Tokar, and it's a pleasure to meet you all. This is my first COC meeting since being appointed to Assistant Sheriff approximately 3 months ago. I look forward to working with you all. First, to give you some statistics, department's year-to-date data. Part one crime is up 2.03%. Most violent crimes are down year-to-date as compared to last year. Homicide is down 15.75%. Rapes are down 13.75%. Unfortunately, robbery is up 8.95%. But aggravated assaults are down 0.74%. Our deputies handle an average of 84,514 calls for service per month. We have an average of 84,147 observations per month. We're currently averaging 5,140 arrests per month, and our current custody count in the jails is 12,770. This is an increase of 275 people from this date last year. In the month of September, we recovered 305 firearms. Uses of force on the department are down overall 8.04%. However, uses of force in custody are up 0.23%. Patrol uses of force are down 10.75%. Our deputy-involved shootings are up slightly over last year. We had 19 deputy-involved shootings this year through September and 16 last year during the same time period. In custody deaths are down by 36% year to date. In year to date, 2023, we had 38 deaths, and this year, 24. In addition to these stats, you requested a status update on each of the recommendations from the report on deputy gangs and cliques. We prepared a chart as a result of the sheriff's remarks at the last meeting. That chart was sent to you earlier this week. It was also sent to the OIG. We're continuing to work on the recommendations, but what we provided was our self-assessment. If you have any questions, I know you probably haven't had a chance to look through that report since you got it so recently. The sheriff will be happy to address anything you'd like him to at the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can
We
you
have any questions?
repeat those in custody deaths, please? You went pretty fast on that.
Okay. They're down 36% year to date as compared to 2023. Year to date, last year, there were 38. Year to date, this year is 24.
Thank you.
So if I heard correctly, it's gone down 2%?
So 36%.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Chair Harris? Commissioner Harris?
Yeah, if I could ask, if it would be possible, I know this is your first meeting here, but we get these numbers every month, but they're always reported out verbally, orally. And if we could get this information in written form ahead of time, even if we got it the morning of the meeting, that would be helpful because you give us an awful lot of statistics and it's kind of hard to keep track of everything. So if that would be possible going forward, that would be much appreciated if we could have a written report on what these stats are. Like I say, even if you had to bring it the morning of, at least we'd have it in front of us so we could refer to it as reports being made, if that'd be possible. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I'll research that and we'll get back to you with the stats.
I'd also just like to bring up a point that was raised at a prior commission meeting about addressing the disconnect or the gulf between perception fueled by some exaggerated or even false reporting and reality about the drop in violent crime and the concurrent rise in what you might call property crime or nonviolent crime. Could you address in whatever way you might, from your own context and your long experience in the department, any efforts to communicate out the success of reducing violent crime in LA County, or what efforts are being made to communicate and to rebut some of the arguments being made or reporting being made that is leading to a perception that deviates significantly from the reality of the statistics that you've just reported about the drop in violent crime in Los Angeles County?
I know the sheriff is very clear about what our stats are in meetings and in public forums, but we don't really have impact on what is then re-reported by the press. But the sheriff does report our stats out I believe they're public. I know that we report Part 1 crimes and that at the end of the year, that is published. As far as additional efforts to, what SIB is doing, I'm afraid that that's not in my current area, but we will be happy to get back to you with additional information.
Well, I just want to note that because there's a common thread between what Commissioner Harris asked and my own point, which is that I think the commission itself can be a partner in communicating truthful data about recent trends and in rebutting arguments that I think go against the facts and the pattern that you have reported on here today and that has been reported on at several commission meetings. And I just want to note that any effort to provide written reports or reports in other easily digestible ways from the department is very much welcome because there is a lot of work to rebut arguments that are not based on facts and recent trends.
Thank you for that.
I just wanted to add, or
Go ahead. Like,
I was just wondering if we can add the stats on complaints being received by the watch commander and, like the number of complaints that are received by the watch commander, and then like if they're under investigation, how many were closed out, something about that?
I'll look into that. I know that those figures are reported in the OIG's reports quarterly. But as far as for this meeting, I'll look into it and get back to you, sir.
Copy. So I just want to make sure I understand. So when the OIG is saying about the complaints that the OIG got, that's also, you're shaking your head, okay.
The OIG, would you like to address it?
I think we do also report on complaints that the sheriff's department gets toward the end of our quarterly report. So we report on the complaints we get, and then I believe it's by station division, the complaints that each of those got as well.
Okay, and then, so is there a declaration between the ones that are being initiated by OIG and then the ones that are being initiated by the citizens?
We don't initiate complaints. We get citizen complaints and pass them along to the department. So we report on the number of complaints that we got and then the number of the complaints that the department got directly.
Copy.
That information's from the department, though, the ones that they got directly.
I have a concern about these in custody deaths because we have family members here today that's very concerned about what's going on. You said there was 38 in custody deaths in 2023 and 24 to date this year. Can you say what is being done about that? Because it seems to be a big concern. When I look at the difference, there was only 14 difference in that, even though when you look at the percent seems to be down a lot, but these numbers are small. And we have a great concern about people dying in custody.
As do I. I mean, it's our primary mission to safely hold people in custody, mine as the assistant sheriff for custody. So I'm very concerned as well. We are ramping up with the assistance of the Board of Supervisors who did approve in our budget new scanners for staff, for property coming in, and for people in custody to go through and see if we can find illegal substances such as fentanyl, because we know that overdoses are a huge problem within custody. So that is one area that we see that we are taking very seriously now and doing searches, but we see technology assisting with that in the future. And hopefully that will be a huge impact.
Okay, what about your cameras now? What are your cameras seeing and why aren't the footages being released to family members?
We're following the law, ma'am. I'm working with county council on what is considered confidential and is what is not. But our cameras are reviewed. We do death reviews, which are attended by our DOJ monitors, by the OAG, and by our staff. And as a result of each of those processes, we look at the totality of the instances, even if it's not directly related to a cause of death, and use those horrible instances to help us improve our systems moving forward. So it is, I hear your concern and I share it, and we're constantly striving to improve.
Well, thank you for those comments, but the family members should be able to receive confidential information on their loved ones. But I appreciate what you're saying, and hopefully we can use technology and to share that with family members.
Just quickly, I was wondering if, with the deaths in the prison, like you're saying that some of them are being caused by overdoses, that maybe there would be some, it would provide some clarity to actually put that type of stat on the stat. So there's 38 deaths, 14 from overdose, 14 under investigation, you know, something, or is that the drug one is not confidential, but all the other stuff is confidential?
So we do report out cause of death once we get a determination from the coroner's office. So far this year, we have 2 that are confirmed overdoses, but we have several that are still pending autopsy and tox screen. So we don't report cause of death on our own. We get that information from the coroner's office.
I just want to note or ask, are you aware that the Nunez family was shown video that was available? Because we have been informed that the Nunez family was able to view available video, and we are interested in probing that discrepancy.
I actually know whether they were shown video or who else.
Well, it's my understanding that they worked with Homicide Bureau to view that video. And I will ask the Homicide Bureau to work with your family and see what's possible. I can't answer that for you today, but we'll work with the Homicide Bureau and see what we can do.
4 months.
And I would just note that the commission asked the OIG for some involvement in that instance. And I think I will, on behalf of the commission, ask that the commission do the same for the family of Eugene Youngblood to ensure that whatever information is available be shared to the full extent possible, and that consistency as much as possible be adhered to in providing evidence to grieving family members seeking information about the death of their loved one.
Thank you. Should also, while you're checking with homicide regarding the viewing of the body worn camera footage for the Youngblood family, I'm also very concerned about the assertion that the death notification was made via voicemail. I hope we'll look into that. I know that's not typically the sheriff's department's policy. I know sometimes death notifications come to the family through other than official channels, and you have no control over that. But if you could just look into that assertion also, I don't want to say assertion. You're telling us that's what happened, so I believe that's what happened. I'd just like to know what the department learns from their looking into it, and if that did happen, why that happened. So, thank you.
And
I just had one question with regards to the custody environment and the overdose deaths. With regards to access to Narcan or naloxone, the generic term, who's Is this custody's responsibility or is this on correctional health services, as far as like, where they're located in the modules or in a dorm?
We work collectively with them and the Department of Public Health. So currently in our facilities, every dormed housing unit has 2 doses of Narcan on the walls, the big dormed housing units. Additionally, each deputy sheriff has Narcan that he or she carries with them. And of course, CHS has their Narcan. We're constantly learning, and we recently put Narcan up in the hallway areas, our inmate reception area. So we are increasing the availability of Narcan, but it is widely available to both persons in custody, our staff, sheriff staff, and CHS, and is used by all 3 entities if needed.
Okay. And so like in the sections of the, like IRC and the holding areas, there's Narcan availability as well?
Not in individual cells, but in public areas.
Okay. And does that extend to like the courthouse lockups, or is it just in the jail system itself?
Courthouses have it as well, their deputies have it as well, and we recently, within the last year, have availability on inmate buses, on the buses that transport people to court.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
I was just wondering, you said 2 out of the 24 this year had the coroner's report submitted?
To have a cause of death of overdose. We know two of the deaths so far this year have been ruled as overdoses.
Do you know how many out of the 24 people that have died that does have a submitted coroner's report?
I know that information is up on our website, and I can have that for you in a moment.
Copy that.
Right. We'll move to our next item, public comments for this agenda item. Tracy, is there?
We have 2 in-person public comments. The first is David Harlan.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Donald Harlan. I'm here to remind the Oversight Commission why I hate the fucking sheriffs. Why I'm gonna kill all you fucking sheriffs. I'm gonna crazy fucking kill all your fucking sheriffs.
Sir.
I'm gonna explain to you why. Because one of your sheriffs killed my family members. One of your sheriffs kidnapped my daughter and raped her and killed her. And one of your sheriffs murdered my brother. And one of your sheriffs stabbed my little nephew to death. One of the family members of one of the sheriffs did that. I don't know what the fuck kind of fucking legal situation
Mr. Harlan, I'm going
you
to,
sheriffs
Mr.
could
Harlan,
be in.
I'm going to ask that you watch the language
Excuse me.
and the threats. Otherwise, we're going to have to stop your comment.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of legal situation that a sheriff would be protected after stabbing a little kid to death. He was in preschool when my nephew was in preschool when he was stabbed to death. And not only that, your fucking sheriffs.
Sir, we need
Try
to be
to-
respectful, sir.
It's a violation of the code.
Oh, he moved in on the fucking property. That judge.
Next public comment. Mr. Harlan, your time has stopped. Mr. Harlan. Mr. Harlan,
Tried to get my property crazy fucking kill your fucking Jewish fucking people. Man, you're sad.
Our next public comment is from Vanessa Perez. Vanessa, can you prepare to make your public comment, please?
Blatant violation of board conduct. It needs to be escorted out. He needs to be.
All right, well, that was a little intense. Okay. I want to comment on 6. I believe that's what this is, right? 6? Jordan? Miss Jordan? Is this 6?
This is your item.
Hey, buddy, this guy right here, this fucking guy right here. House. If this house is on my fucking build a registry of had an interaction with them. No actor.
Vanessa Perez, you can make your public comment now.
All right.
Please proceed.
And thank you, staff.
Okay, my name is Vanessa Perez. I'm the mother of Joseph Andrew Perez, who was beat by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I want to bring up the deputy gang hearing that we just recently had. You guys had Max Fernandez on there, a detective, an anti-corruption cop detective. I came to you guys talking to you about how Deputy Paul Sedano beat Joseph and how he was put into a school, into my daughter's high school. And in return, he's been promoted to a detective in Carson. How are we supposed to trust the department when all these types of detectives are getting, or these deputies are getting promoted to detectives? And what does it say about us having Max Fernandez as a anti-corruption cop? I mean, we all seen what he had to say up there is incredible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 online public comments. The first is from S. S, you are unmuted. Please make your public comment.
Hi, the amount of confidentiality during an investigation of lost loved ones during an investigation, whether in custody or not, is ridiculous. I think the Office of Inspector General and sheriffs forget they're public servants and work for us. All evidence, whether pending investigation, should be public. This is how they cover up lies and corruption continues, and use lingual gymnastics and sit there avoiding accountability and nothing happens, while sheriffs still continue to harass families, delay investigations, promote killer cops, refuse to give information to the committee, telling us there's going to be a prosecution or we'll get sued by the police union. Police unions are cancers to civilian oversight committees, to the civilians, and to the regular people. You guys are public servants. All investigations should be public. There shouldn't be anything redacted. You work for us. We should be able to see everything. This is how, and once the trial comes, judges and DAs set the precedent for what evidence is allowed to be presented. So all this, going back and forth whether to give the information to the committee, whether it should be public or not, it should be. Corruption is continuing, and you got this office inspector general and sheriffs are just sitting there doing nothing. And that's why Mr. Harlan was upset, because of how you guys continue to operate. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment online is from Benya. Benya, you are now unmuted.
I'm Benya with Central CSO, and I wanted to, one, make sure that we all kind of forget what just happened. It seems like this person had some weird issues going on that nobody could even identify leading up to this. Maybe there's nobody in his family or life that can kind of see what's going on. The fact that he's making threats and saying all of these ridiculous things, anti-Semitic comments, it's almost as if though someone allowed that to happen. But aside from this current issue, it's taking away from what the community needs, and it needs discussion regarding the penalties and consequences about these deputy gang members that are placed all throughout Los Angeles County, where so many of us feel threatened, and then there's daily reminders whenever we see a cop of the situations that we've either been through, had to live through, or experienced in times where we've even lost a loved one. And so we have Sheriff Luna not necessarily seeing fit to come to every single meeting, and I'm sure he's a very, very important person that needs to be in other places. But when it's the community that's overseeing the work that he does and decides not to show up and then provide somebody as a replacement who can't necessarily answer the questions and who can't address the concerns that we're bringing up, I don't see that that's a benefit, that doesn't necessarily benefit the community, and it doesn't necessarily mean that his importance should be above that. So again, I encourage that everybody support the commission, and especially speak to your district representatives and make sure that they are aware that they need to give these people power so that they can subpoena and make sure that they have all the evidence that they request when it comes to these killer deputy cops. And in closing, I just want to say a thank you to the commission and everyone that stands there. Seemingly has been doing good work. There have been a lot of good questions brought up, but we just also need a stronger fist, and it needs to be shaken harder for us. We need to see just more of these kinds of questions that you've brought up today that represent what the community has been bringing up, and continue that good work. And I know that you faced a lot of challenges, so thank you for all of that. And please remember to eliminate these deputy gangs, because it's done way too much to harm our community, and there's no trust left for us with the law enforcement. So we watch our back. And another example just happened a couple days ago on Whittier Boulevard. So thank you.
Thank you. Our next in-person public comment is from Michelle Infante.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Infante. I'm with Dignity and Power Now. I read the 27 recommendations, and there's only 5 that are fully implemented. There are 6 that are partially implemented. And the number, of course, where not implemented is 14. So we have a problematic issue here, especially when you come and you give statistics and you don't bring anything and you're self-assessed. You haven't been able to self-assess for over 50 years. You have deputy gangs, talked about contraband and doing extra to not have contraband. What are you doing with your own department, your own sheriffs that are bringing in contraband? What are you doing about that? But you haven't talked about that, have you? The family of Youngblood, you guys were talking about the sheriff's department. It's the norm for the county coroner to go by what the sheriff says. And we all know the sheriff doesn't tell the truth. So how do you expect this family up here to have any explanation or anybody elaborate on what happened to their loved one? It's a problematic issue. We have, and I noticed in the 27 recommendations, our commission or whoever wrote it can't even be consistent about 1 minute you're talking and you're saying that they're exclusionary subgroups. The next minute you're talking about their deputy cliques. And the next minute you're talking about law enforcement gangs. This oversight works for sheriffs only. Why are you using a general statement? These families whose loved ones have been killed, not lost, it's not like they can go and find them. They're not lost. They're dead and gone permanently. Why are you constantly lightening up like the sheriff's department does. Their department and their sheriffs, when they bring in drugs, it's called contraband. But when someone does it in the community, it's called drugs. Always something to lighten up the effect that the sheriff's department does. And instead of, and making it look like community has done something wrong, you need to be checked. Your department needs to be checked. You guys write a lie, and then it gets passed down to the county coroner's office, and then he perpetuates the lie. So it's very problematic that we're up here only talking about the sheriff's department when it's not just the sheriff's department. I've been doing this for 8 years, you guys. I brought up data regarding the county coroner, and you cannot exclude them. They are part of the problem. There are a lot of agencies up here that are complicit. The fire department, I brought you the presentation. I showed you the sheriff's department going behind a fence, washing their hands, taking a bottle of saline off the fire department and going behind there. This is a very problematic issue, and all these things get written into the county coroner, and he perpetuates the lie. So when you come up here and you give statistics, it's self-assessment. Really, it's a joke because you're not telling the truth. You want to talk about use of force, but you don't talk about, you want to talk about inmate on inmate, but you don't talk about staff on inmate. And that's something you should be talking about.
Thank you. Our final public comment in-house is from Coriana Johnson.
So I just would like to say, I really feel bad for you. They just send people up here and they just throw you to the wolves when you don't have no idea about the depths of what's going on or how deep it runs. In regards to what she was saying, the coroner's office, that's who actually met my mom in the parking lot and my aunt and said that he's not supposed to do this, but he's going to show us this picture anyways. And he told us to take a picture. This is how we have this picture. We will have no idea what he looked like when he died or anything. He said, take this picture on your phone off of my phone so we can have a reference, a picture of him, of how he died how he went out when he died. And the second thing in regards to what Mr. JP was saying about the voicemail and the phone call, Mr. Bell said that it goes against what he's supposed to be doing when he left that voicemail, when he told us that my uncle was dead over that phone. He said that that's not what he's supposed to be doing either. So it's like we have certain people who want to help the family, but because of their position and the positions that they have and where they lie, they can't necessarily help us to protect them. And so they won't get in trouble or nothing will come back on them. So that's it.
Thank you. There are no further public comments on this item. Co-Vice Chair.
Tracy. So we're now moving out of order to agenda item number 8. And this is regarding the selection of a 2025 meeting location and time. So the commission is going to decide on the location for the year of the 2025 COC business meetings we have a few proposed options. This item on the agenda is for us to decide on where we should meet in calendar year 2025. We have a contract with St. Anne's, which will be up for renewal next month. And some commissioners have raised concerns about time of our meetings due to traffic, and maybe the time may limit public participation because of work schedules. The following list is a list of possible locations for us to use. So the first location is this existing St. Anne's Conference Center. We have to pay for the facility. It's a clean, decent facility, no security. And then there's also another location, the Irving Magic Johnson Park at 905 East El Segundo. We also pay for that location, and we've had a meeting there previously, a joint meeting. And it's not central, but it's an open, excellent meeting space with parking, but there is also no security. And there's another location, 510 South Vermont, the Vermont corridor, but capacity is limited. Next location is the MTA, Metropolitan Transit Authority building, which is at 700 Alameda, Los Angeles, LA. But they don't want us to use their building. And our last site is the Hall of Administration hearing room at 500 West Temple, Los Angeles, California. Parking may be an issue. No charge to the commission. It's a good facility and there's security available. Do I have a motion from commissioners to direct Chair Bonner and commission staff to take action to secure the location decided by the commission for the 2025 commission business meetings?
So moved.
Do it. Second? Okay. Now I'll read a statement from Chair Bonner. I am sorry I cannot be with you at today's commission meeting. Regarding the future location for our regular monthly meetings, I believe there are 4 factors that should be considered: accessibility, capacity, security, and cost. Regarding accessibility, the location should be easily accessible to the public, ideally through public transportation. As for capacity, there needs to be sufficient minimum capacity to accommodate all members of the public who want to attend our public hearings. We have approximately 180 people who have signed up for our November 8th conference. With our new community service coordinator, Mr. Flores, and new communications manager, I expect that we will increase attendance and should have a minimum capacity of 80 to 100. I estimate that we need a minimum capacity to accommodate up to 100 people per meeting, ideally at a site more accessible than St. Anne's. As we ratchet up the tempo of the commission's oversight activities with reports from ad hocs, testimony of witnesses at our hearings, and presentations by SMEs, subject matter experts. Security. Our new site for hearings should provide security for the commissioners, the commission staff, and attendees. St. Anne lacks security. Government buildings such as the Hall of Administration provide security at their entry points. Cost. While renting private space for our meetings is not terribly costly, it costs us and the county about $2,000 per meeting. It would cost virtually nothing to meet at a county-owned building such as the Hall of Administration. Considering all these factors, I have added the hearing room used for Board of Supervisors meetings to the list of spaces that we and our executive director should consider. The board's hearing room is often dark. The board itself meets only 1 day per week. And it is the only place on the list that meets all criteria for our meetings. Its downtown location is accessible via public transportation. It has adequate capacity to accommodate our most well-attended meetings, and it has building security. And it costs the county nothing other than turning on the lights. It is noteworthy that the Citizens Commission on Jail Violence conducted all its hearings in the board's hearing room, which easily accommodates 9 commissioners around the horseshoe where the supervisors sit for the meetings. If the commission, after discussion, believes we should consider the Hall of Administration hearing room, it should direct me as chair to communicate with the executive office for the board as it controls the use of the board's hearing room, and formally request that it be made available 1 day a month for 4 hours when the board is not using it for meetings. Now let's open it up for discussion. So by a show of hands, who would prefer that we meet at St. Anne's?
Co-Vice Chair Garcia, before we move forward, can you please advise who moved for this item and who second?
JP moved.
I moved.
Commissioner.
Hans?
And who
Johnson.
second?
And
JP?
JP second.
Thank you.
So by a show of hands, who would prefer that we continue meeting here at St. Anne's? Magic Johnson location? The Vermont Corridor? MTA? Hall of Administration? So 1, 2, 3, 5? Okay, 5. All right, it looks like a majority of the commissioners want us to meet at the Hall of Administration location. And let's discuss the time. Any discussion on the time? Remain at the same time, or
I would recommend we remain at the same time.
I second that recommendation.
Vice Chair, I have a question. Is there any restrictions on the time as far as when we'd have to conclude the meeting?
Not Tuesdays.
So it's open all day Tuesday.
Tuesday.
till Thursday?
Or, no, the question was, is there any,
Like we,
how long we can stay in the
right.
facility?
To a little bit of staff. Tracy,
Tracy?
as far as HOA?
I will now conduct a roll call.
No. Can you respond as far as HOA? How long can we stay in the HOA room?
We would have to follow up with the location to get additional details as to that.
Okay.
I think you just have to book the room, and then if you book the room, you get it for the amount of time that you booked it. So I think they close it, whatever, by, yeah. I think as long as it's during working hours, you just have to somebody books the room, you just have to. Okay, it's during working hours.
We will look into them.
So if you
Okay.
say 9 to 4, you can have it 9 to 4 as long as nobody else booked it that day, and if you book it out far enough in advance, then you'll be fine.
Okay.
I understand. Just try to book it.
Thank you. We'll look into that, to the HOA building and the securing the location. Okay, is Commissioner Johnson, who made the motion, okay with amending the motion to include the agreed upon location and time of our commission meetings for 2025?
Yes, I accept keeping our time consistent and making the request for use of the Hall of Administration and advance booking for that meeting location and the dates for 2025 in the Hall of Administration.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment for this item, Tracy?
There are no public comments for this item.
Commissioner Garcia, I'm just wondering if we might want to consider, because we're putting all of our eggs in one basket and we're assuming we're going to be able to get the Hall of Admin. Well, if that doesn't happen, do we have a backup position maybe we should consider? I mean, I would make a motion that we consider this facility as a backup in the event we cannot secure an agreement with the County of Los Angeles to use a Hall of Administration.
That sounds like a prudent motion, and if it is a motion, I would second it.
And I'll make it a motion.
I'll second it.
Families having to pay for expensive parking. So for 20, that's $22 across the jacket. Families can't afford that. A lot of families cannot afford it.
Okay, so we'll now move on to vote and amend the motion to secure the site and direct Chair Bonner and Commission staff to take action to secure the location. Hall of Administration decided by the Commission today. In
And-
addition to the,
And if that proves unsuccessful, to pursue a backup option
okay.
at St. Anne's. Is there any comment? Is there any? Don't we need to take public comment on this motion? We do.
We have-
There's no public comment.
Okay.
There's no comment.
Very good.
So Tracy, do you roll call?
Roll call. I will now conduct the roll call. Chair Robert C. Bonner, excused. Co-Vice Chair Luis S. Garcia.
Yes.
Co-Vice Chair Hans Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Arthur Callaway. Commissioner Irma Cooper.
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Giggins, excused. Commissioner James P. Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Jaman R. Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner Sean Kennedy, excused. The motion passes. Motion for the location of HOA, Hall of Administration, and the backup, St. Anne's. Same time, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're moving back to agenda item 6.
8B.
8B. 8B, sorry. Where's it at? Oh, right in front of me. Okay, so our next item is new business. Under new business is a report on Article 29 of the county's collective bargaining agreement, CBA, with the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, ALADS. Dr. Ochoa, Bikila Ochoa, Deputy Executive Officer of the COC, will provide a brief report on this item. Dr. Ochoa?
Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. So, as a bit of background, back in 2012, then Chief Jim McDonald, Chair Bonner, other jurists and community members were members of the county's Citizens Commission on Jail Violence. This commission, which consisted of 7 commissioners, an executive director, a general counsel, 2 project managers, an investigator, and a team of almost 30 staff and volunteers, issued a 205-page report that included many recommendations on how to reduce excessive force in the jails. Again, this is 12 years ago, 2012. One of the recommendations in the report was for the Sheriff's Department to increase the number of custody assistants in the jails, effectively getting rid of a restriction in the then MOU between the county and the Association for Los Angeles Deputy Sheriffs, ALADS, on the percentage of custody assistants in the jail to no more than 35% of sheriff staff. Owing to conversations on jail staffing for this commission, particularly conversations generated by our colleagues at the Civil Brand Commission, Chair Bonner tasked me with reviewing the current MOU to see if there still existed in today's MOU a provision limiting the percentage of custody assistants in the jails to 35% of sheriff staff. I reviewed the existing MOU. 12 years later, the provision still exists in the MOU. And so we hope this commission agrees that this provision should finally be removed. Specifically, Article 29.1 of the existing MOU reads, the number of employees in the class of custody assistant sheriff shall not exceed 35% of the total number of employees in the class of deputy sheriff generalists. In other words, the sheriff is currently prohibited from increasing the percentage of custody assistants in the jails, even if he were to determine it was necessary to do so. So there are a number of reasons that Chair Bonner and I wanted to recommend that this be removed. One, management prerogative. The sheriff should have the authority, feel free to staff the jails as he sees fit based on the needs on the ground. Second is flexibility. Should needs change in the facilities, the sheriff should have the ability to shift staff as he sees fit. Third is cost. Now, again, this is based on the 2012 report of the CCJV. Numbers could have changed, costs could have changed. But back then, the report indicated that replacing a deputy sheriff with a custody assistant would save the department, this is, again, back then, roughly $46,000 per employee. Now, again, we don't know if the cost of custody assistants today is equal to the cost of deputy sheriffs in the facilities. We need to study that further. But if that were still the case, then even flipping the ratio would save the county quite a bit of money. So also, the report founded back then that given that deputies do not carry firearms in the county jail, again, back then, we need to sort of determine whether or not this is still the case today. But there's a lot of overlap between the duties of the custody assistants and the deputy sheriffs in the jails. So we hope that these reasons are sufficient for the commission to approve removing Article 29 from any new MOU and agrees to support the formation of an ad hoc to further study this issue. Just a bit of a caveat. We learned actually just last Thursday or Friday that the county is currently in negotiations with ALADS over the new MOU. I think that the MOU currently expires end of this year, and a new MOU has to be in place by early next year. So we were told to get in our recommendation ASAP. So Chair Bonner did submit that letter on Monday this week, but he still hopes that the commission would approve of him doing so. Secondly, this issue requires quite a bit of study, hence the need for an ad hoc. There are quite a few important questions that I think an ad hoc would need to consider. One, how long has this provision been in the MOU between the county and ALADS? Again, this report came out in 2012. Presumably, this provision existed in MOUs prior to 2012. So it's over a decade that this provision has been in the MOU. What were the reasons for this particular 35 to 65 ratio? Third, why cement this ratio in a multi-year MOU? There are two separate issues. There's the ratio itself, and then there's the cementing of the ratio in an MOU. So again, why cement this ratio in an MOU? And then lastly, given the number of incarcerated people in the jails, their current needs, staffing needs of LAUSD, is there a ratio of custody assistants to deputies that would better meet the needs of those who are incarcerated and better meet the needs of those who are staffing the facilities? So, how custody facilities are staffed, both in absolute numbers and mix of skill sets, is critical to the well-being of both those who are incarcerated and those who staff the facilities. Right now, there are very important questions being asked about the future of Men's Central Jail, whether to replace it with another facility. And so in light of these considerations, the sheriff should be free to develop a staffing pattern that he and his advisors, including the COC, deem suitable to meet the needs of any new facility as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Dr. Ochoa, can you speak to the value of reducing jail violence that may be served by removing that artificial ratio from the memorandum? That it appeared in this important report that a great deal of work went into 12 years ago. And can you speak to how removing that artificial ratio may actually effectuate less violence in custody situations?
Well, I think the concern back then was that custody assistants are specifically trained to serve in custody, while deputies are trained to serve in patrol. And so, again, we don't know if this is the case today. Maybe Sheriff Tokar can, let us know if this is the case today. But the idea is there seems to be a mismatch between the skills that deputy sheriffs are trained for and then sort of where they're placed at least immediately after the academy. So if you have more people specifically trained for the custody environment, that could, that could be one tool to reduce excessive force in the jails. It's not the end all be all. Again, it was a 205-page report. There were many other recommendations in that report, but I think it is notable that this was a recommendation that was made, 12 years ago by some very smart and accomplished people, and those recommendations weren't considered back then. And so we believe that it's time to consider the recommendation. Now, it could be the case after study, we end up back at that ratio. Who knows? But I think at least removing the ratio from the MOU would allow the sheriff, the COC, OIG, OCP to study the issue and then make a recommendation on the appropriate ratio in the jail without being boxed in for the next, 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows how long the new MOU will carry over for.
And I believe you were with me at the sheriff's headquarters just last month for a briefing on September 4th about the future direction of replacing Men's Central Jail in particular, and the care-centric language being used by the sheriff and the sheriff's department in contemplation of a shift in strategy and in facilities over Men's Central Jail. How would the absence of removing, how, if this provision were not removed, would we face perhaps some serious hurdles in achieving what the sheriff's department says it wants to do in the future, and what I think several members of the Board of Supervisors are making similar kinds of initiatives and expressions about? If this is not removed, doesn't it pose a serious hindrance to a more care-centered approach that is being contemplated for a replacement for Men's Central Jail?
Yeah, I think, Chair Johnson, that's entirely the issue. As the county, seeks to reconsider Men's Central Jail in light of a care first vision, I think all parties, stakeholders, again, LASD, OCP, COC, should be able to work together to try to think of innovative ways to better care for those in custody. So therefore, I think boxing in this ratio, cementing this ratio in an MOU can serve as an obstacle to innovating and developing the ideal staffing structure for any new care first facility. Should there be one? We don't know if there'll be one, but should there be one?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The 46,000 approximately would be the difference. Has there been discussion about how those funds would get reallocated, or is that something that is discussed at a later time?
No, there's been no discussion, no further study. Again, that number was taken from the report 10 years ago. And so, one, does that math even still math? We don't know, but I think, let's say it does. This sort of would, at least back then, the estimation was $50 million the county would save. That's a lot of money for the county to think about how to better serve the needs of either those in custody or the broader, LA County. And so if that ratio in cost still exists, I think any change in the ratio, again, would see the county save quite a bit of money. But where that money ends up, that's for further, I think, inquiry and consideration.
I have a question. In your research, were you able to find out why the county would give up its management?
Nope. No,
I couldn't get my question.
sorry, no clue. There's nothing that we found, no reasoning for that ratio, no reasoning as to, now, this is not to say there wasn't good reason. We just don't know what that reason was. We don't know the reason for the ratio. We don't know the reason for putting it in the MOU. And so that's something I think an ad hoc could look into. Why the ratio and why put it in an MOU? I think those are great questions, but we could not find the answers to those questions as part of our research.
Okay, it's just from my experience, I never heard of a business giving up their management to a union.
It's an important question, to be sure. Any further questions? I just want to add in conclusion, this is, by making this recommendation, we're not saying that we know better, that we've discovered better in our research. We're just saying that this ratio prevents, I think, asking important questions, and it prevents the COC. Frankly, it prevents the sheriff, OCP, and other stakeholders in asking important questions about what the ideal staffing in custody should look like. And so by removing this, we're hoping that we can, create a collaborative effort to find out, establish what the appropriate staffing structure in custody should be. So I want to make that point clear. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do I have a motion from the commissioners to allow the commission to recommend to the sheriff and the county that the provision mandating a 65-35 ratio of deputies to custody assistants be removed as part of the renegotiation of the collective bargaining agreement with ALADS? It is further moved that the chair of the commission be directed to form a new ad hoc committee to be called the Jail Staffing Ad Hoc Committee to examine what is the ideal ratio of deputies to custody assistants and make any appropriate recommendations to the sheriff regarding jail staffing. This ad hoc committee is temporary and will be dissolved once the task is completed.
Some
Who made the motion?
I second.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Come on. Irma second. Do we have any public comments, Tracy?
There are no public comments on this item.
Okay, so we'll now move on to conduct the roll call vote on the motion that allows the commission to recommend to the sheriff and the county that the provision mandating the 65-35 ratio of deputies to custody assistants be removed as part of the renegotiation of the CBA with ALADS. And it is further moved that the chair of the commission be directed to form a new ad hoc committee to be called the Jail Staffing Ad Hoc that will examine what is the ideal ratio of deputies to custody assistants and make any appropriate recommendations to the sheriff regarding jail staffing. This ad hoc is temporary, as noted, and will dissolve once the task is completed.
I will now conduct the roll call. Chair Robert C. Bonner, excused. Co-chair, co-vice chair Luis S. Garcia.
Yes.
Co-vice chair Hans Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Arthur Callaway.
Yes.
Commissioner Irma Cooper.
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Giggins, excused. Commissioner James P. Harris.
Yes.
Commissioner Jamon R. Hicks.
Yes.
Commissioner Sean Kennedy, excused. Co-Vice Chair Garcia, the motion passes 6-0 and 0 abstentions.
Okay, thank you. It's 10:36. We take a break right now? Okay. All right, we'll take a break and is it 15 minutes? We'll return in 15 minutes. Oh, there. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order now. Okay, we're going to have an announcement from County Council.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jansen Diaz from County Council. I have an announcement to make. As you all know, the COC is a Brown Act body, and they've lost a quorum of their members. Therefore, I've advised the COC that they should cancel the meeting, the rest of the meeting, and any items on this present agenda can be re-agendized on a future agenda. No, ma'am, at this point, there's not enough members of the COC present to continue the meeting.
Commissioner
Sweet.
Johnson left, and then also Commissioner Hicks.
Yes, we have lost Commissioner Hans Johnson and Commissioner Hicks have both left, so we do not have a quorum. So we'll have to conclude the meeting. Our next COC business meeting will be November 21st, 2024. And then invite you all to attend our 4th annual Civilian Oversight Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement Conference that will be held on November 8th at the Magic Johnson location. And this meeting is now adjourned at 11:02. Thank you.